Life would wrote this originally, but I think they call Mary's original better. In the early morning rain, with a dollar in my hand, the aching in my heart, and my pockets full of sand. I'm a long, long way from home, and I miss my old home so. In the early morning, no place to go. I don't want way number 9, except on 7 cents to go. But I'm stuck here in the grass, where the cold wind blows. Now the liquor tastes good, and the winning all was fast. Well, she goes, my friend, she is rolling down the line. Hear those mighty engines roll, see the silver bird on high. She's away in westward bound, far above the clouds she flies, where the morning rain don't fall, and the sun it always shines. She'll be flying over my home in about 3 hours' time. This old airport's got me down, it's no earthly good to me, 'cause I'm stuck here on the ground, as cold and drunk as I can be, and jumping into the plane like a been a freight train. So I must be on my way in the early morning rain. You cannot jump in jet plane like you can a freight train. So I best be on my way in the early morning rain.
Thanks, Bob. So you're probably wondering why there was a sloth on the screen. And the reason is we're going to give away a few door prizes in Dottie's memory and Mr. Hess's memory. First one is a calendar of sloths. And so on your table there should be pieces of paper and pencils. If you want to enter the drawing, there's going to be more. I'll tell you in a minute. Write your name and contact. Sorry. No cars. Very funny. Yeah. Anyway, we'll also give away the first edition in the series by Mr. Goss, which is an Amish mystery series that Dottie liked. He actually did a bunch of books here. And the Bernie Sanders bobblehead. These are not all here yet, but they're coming. And the World Wildlife Fund, the three-toed sloth adoption kit. So Dottie was a fan, and so we gave money in her name, and you'll get the plushie. I actually have this here, which you'll see at the end. Okay. Let me get this set up. If you would, somebody would put them in that box over there that says mailing list on it, that would be great. We'll do a drawing at the end. Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. Okay. Now I'd like to bring up the chair of the Board of Trustees of the library, Jimmy McCann. Get you on camera. Very good, very good.
Hello, we're happy that you could join us today. For those who don't know me, my name is Jimmy McCamick, and I'm chairman of the board. Whatever success I've had as a board member and chairman is due in large part to Dottie Thomas. We worked well together ever since I came on the board in 2007. She was a wonderful person and a wonderful librarian. Dottie was always resourceful and forward-thinking. She welcomed new ideas and found ways to implement them. Mr. Hess was a guiding light to this library for many, many years. Whenever I face a thorny problem, I ask myself, what would Ted Hess do? Today, we recognize and give thanks for these library leaders. We hope their families know that they live on in the hearts of those who do.
Let's do another song.
Okay. I'm kind of interweaving Dylan and Peter, Paul, Mary, but Peter, Paul, Mary made a lot of hits off of Bob Dylan. So, when I do one that they did, sometimes it's because Bob Dylan did it. Actually wrote it. This one has a harmonic in it because it's a Dylan song. It's awful long, but I'll try to shorten it. Good to see some drums in here. In another lifetime, one toil and blood. When blackness was a virtue, the road was full of mud. I came in from the wilderness, a creature born of thorn. And then she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. And if I pass this way again, you can rest assured I'll always do my best for her, that I give my word. The world will see my death and men who are fighting to be won. And as she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Suddenly I turned around and she was standing there. Silver bracelets on her wrists and flowers in her hair. She walked up to me so gracefully and took my crown of thorns. Then she said, I'll give you shelter. I'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, the deputy walks on hard nails and the preacher rides a mountain. Nothing really matters much. It's too alone it counts. And the one I undertake her, he blows a futile horn. And then she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. In a little hilltop village, they gambled for my clothes. I bargained for salvation, she gave me a lethal dose. I offered up my anal sins and I got repaid with scorn. And then she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, I'm living in a foreign country, but I'm bound to cross the line. You didn't watch they raise the dead, so they all made it mine. I can only turn back the clock to when God and her were born. And she said, I'll give you shelter. Give you shelter from the storm. Abbreviated version.
Thanks, Bob. Let's bring up now a good friend of Dottie's and a mentor, Dr. David Jefferson.
What you get when you have former students.
get applause when it's not deserved. Dottie Byer came to my class over 50 years ago as a young student from Marshall County. She didn't plan to be a librarian. She was going to be an English teacher or a history teacher. But she had a few hiccups along the way. Marriage, children. I see one back there who was born the same. One of the reasons that Dottie and I have a relationship is that our daughter and her daughter were born in the same year, 1972. I've had I calculate 7,000 students in my 39 years at West Liberty. But the only one for whom I've had a friendship that lasts that long is Dottie Thomas. And I'm not sure why it has lasted that long. I mean, I've gone through a lot of her problems that had, her raising the kids, her finding out that school teaching wasn't for her. In fact, she told Alice, that's my wife, about the job that Alice eventually had. She said, look, there's a teaching job over there in Martins Ferry. You can have it. I don't want it. Okay? And then when she's in her 30s and she's got 4 kids, she goes back to school. She's going to be a librarian. She calls me and tells me she's going to be. I said, that's fine. In fact, I think she came to the office and said that. She would often show up or give me a call. And I said, that's good. She gets her first job in Weirton, and of course she calls me because, as you may well know, as you can probably tell from my appearance, I'm from Weirton. Okay? And she tells me about the job, and of course, that's one of my first libraries, and you know, as a historian, you spend a lot of time in libraries. And the Mary H. Weir Library, I spent a lot of time in. She was a librarian, assistant librarian there for 3 years. And when she called me and she said, yeah, I'm living on 11th Street. I said, really? I said, that's like 2 blocks from where I grew up. I said, where? And she told me the house. I said, oh, I know the house. I've been in the house. It was the grandmother's house of my best mate. I mean, those are the connections. She goes to Kansas. We send her flowers when she gets there. She calls occasionally. I know a lot of dirt about politicians in Kansas because evidently that filters down to the people here. And then she comes back to the Ohio Valley and comes back here. And because of things like the People's University, how many People's Universities have I done? 20, 30, something like that? I mean, I came back in here today, and it's the first real program I've done with people since November the 19th, 2019, when I did a program on speaking from the dictionary. I love this library, and I love the things that she did with it. But what I really most appreciated about Dottie was the way she lived her life. She didn't have things handed to her. She didn't have the easiest of times. For a long time, she was a single mother. She raised 4 great kids. She dealt with some issues. I heard a lot about her romances, particularly with one who happened to be, guess what, a former student. Didn't end as well as it could have, but that often happens. And I told her a couple years ago, I was sitting up in the office and I said, Dottie, I said, I want you to know how much I appreciate the job that you've done, how much I admire the way you've lived your life. You know, a lot of those People's University that I did in this room, she was never here for that because it was in the evening. And she had a son with serious medical issues. She's taking care of him back at home. That's the kind of person that Dottie was. She gets sick. Not once, twice. And terrible illnesses. I'm hesitant to call her. And finally, I get up the nerve to call her, and I mentioned that. And she said, oh, don't. Call me anytime you want. It's all right. I call her to make her feel better. She ends up making me feel better. She never loses her sense of humor. We're talking one day, and she's going through, she said, you know, this cancer's bad enough. I got a tumor. Yeah. She said, it's on my backside. I said, oh. She said, I can't sit very long. I can't ride very much. It's very uncomfortable. A little silence. And she said, you know, Dr. Javersack, I know one thing about cancer. And I said, what's that, Dottie? She said, it's a real pain in the ass. Now, if you noticed, I said, Dr. Javersack. That's what she called me. Now, I've known her for how many years? 50-some years. She called me David? No, doctor. Why? Because when we went to school, back, as they say, back in the day, your teachers were doctor or Mr. or Miss or Mrs. They weren't David or Alice or Dottie. They were by a title. And we had that kind of relationship. Dottie used religion as a way of dealing with a lot of different issues. She was not raised a Catholic, but what became a Catholic became very, the church became very important to her. We talked about that a little bit. And that's why I know this Matthew verse would have meant a great deal to her. Because I knew it meant a great deal to my mother, who also suffered from a terrible cancer some years ago. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. A week ago, I was at another funeral, and I was looking at the program, and I came upon this. It's the words to simple gifts. You may not know the person who wrote it, but you know the melody because it's in Appalachian Spring by Aaron Copland. 'Tis a gift to be simple. And these are its last two stanzas. And you'll see Dottie in this. 'Tis the gift to be loved, and that love to return. 'Tis the gift to be taught, and a richer gift to learn. And when we expect of others what we try to live each day, then we'll all live together and learn to say, 'tis the gift to have friends, and a true friend to be. 'Tis the gift to think of others, not only to think of me. And when we hear what others think and really feel, then we'll all live together with a love that is real. Dottie believed in heaven, and I know that on that day, besides rearranging the books so that they're in order up there, that this is what she would have heard. Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful, so enter into the joy of your Lord.
Thank you, Dr. Jefferson. This is Pete Seeger tune. Of course, Peter, Paul, and Mary made it pop.
That's right. One of the great things about my show is if you sing along, you cover up all my mistakes, so I hope you sing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Gone to young girls, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? I'm singing good. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young men gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young men gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young men gone? Gone the soldiers everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the soldiers gone? Gone the graveyard, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? Long ago. Where have all the graveyards gone? Gone the flowers everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn?
Thanks, Bob. Let's bring up another gentleman to do both Dottie and Mr. Hess, Dr. Chuck Julie.
Thank you, Sean.
Certainly, you want the sides up.
Just a moment. Wait a moment. First of all, I'm not in mourning. I just happen to pick black, and I'm not a priest. that happened once when I was working in Wheeling Jesuit. It shook several people up one day. Oh, Father, how are you? Oh, no. Put it away, put it away. I'm happy today to talk about both Ted Hess and Dottie, and I'll talk about Ted first. When I first was appointed to the library board, the dynamic duo was in full force, and that was Ted Hess and Tom Staffen. Those two gentlemen did wonderful things for this library. They had great influence in the community and fostered people's contributions to the library, and they were somewhat similar, but also very different. I generally didn't make Ted too nervous. Tom, as soon as I went to spend money, he'd break out into a sweat and went ahead for the door. So, but that was his fiscal conservative nature. Ted was always the man, and actually Tom was too. You knew would have a tie on when he came to the meeting. I may have been the first male board member to stop wearing ties to board meetings. I don't know what he thought of that, but he never said anything to me about it. Ted was a gentleman. Everyone who knew Ted, I think, would agree he was a gentleman. You could disagree with Ted, and you would never know it when you walked out the door. He'd shake your hand, and there would be no rancor. You would just agree to disagree. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen much these days. One of the interesting things in my relationship with Ted, and this is something he was very proud of, was in 2000, I was appointed to the West Virginia Library Commission as commissioner. And at the time, the governor was Cecil Underwood. And there is no political requirement for the Library Commission. But it's generally the practice that the governor is appointing people of his own party to commissions and boards. And I was a Democrat. So I don't know how Ted found out about it or if Ted was a part of it initially, but later Ted was very proud to tell me, I helped get you appointed to the West Virginia Library Commission with Governor Cecil Underwood. Now, he never said, you damn Democrat, you didn't take me, but he was very proud of that, and it was a real pleasure and an honor to serve with him on this library board. He was well respected. He did wonderful things for the library. Now, when Dottie came to town, I was the library director for the library system of West Virginia Northern, just across the street. So we became professional friends. I used to say very tongue-in-cheek that we're glad to have a branch library across the street, meaning this library. And of course, the public library had about 50,000 more financial resources and other resources than we had. But she was very, very generous. She always supported our students. Every student was welcome into the library. We actually made it a part of our operational strategy to know what was here in this collection. So we'd say to the kids, go across the street, there's a shelving unit over here, start the way down, and they would just come right and get it because we had such a small collection. So for me, I actually claimed this as a branch library was a joke. So, being a public library director is a tricky, tricky proposition. I had a 42-year, I just retired a couple years ago, I had a 42-year career in library and information science. And the only library I did not work in was a public library. And that was by choice. And it was by choice for a couple reasons. One, you have too many bosses. It's not just the board of directors that you have to deal with. You often have to deal with political entities. You have to deal with a constituency that goes from cradle to grave. Every person who walks in the front door thinks you're your boss. So it's just very, very tricky. And I have great admiration for the library directors, particularly in this state, who many have very limited resources and get wonderful things done. So Dottie also was a mentor to her professional colleagues. She was very respected in the library and information professional community in the state. In this state, it's still a small library community, less than 100 library systems in the state, often very challenging resources to deal with. And Dottie had people who always counted on being able to pick up the phone and call her and say, what would you do? How would you do this? We're in the jam. How can you help us? I know Susan and Dottie talked a lot. Susan Riley back here from Marshall County. They were very good friends. And she really was very generous with her time. She was well respected in the library community. She served in many offices in the West Virginia Library Association, and she was president of the association in 2000, 2001. And I remember Dottie coming to me, and I had been president of the association before then. She said, I'm so excited, we're going to have a Halloween party at the annual conference. And she was very excited. And yes, indeed, here are pictures, and I didn't bring this because I'm in one of the pictures. Here are pictures of the attendees of the Canadian annual conference of the West Virginia Library Association and the Halloween party. And you may be thinking, oh, well, why do we care? Why do we care about this? All right, go to the next. Well, why we care about it is some of you may have known Sister Mary Jude Yocum. Sister Yocum was superintendent of the diocesan school system here in Wheeling. She later was administrator at Mount St. Joseph. She was appointed to the library board right before this conference came about. And so she went along, and often board members were invited to go along with the library staff. She went along for that conference. Well, there was also a new staff member, I think she was in the children's department. She was very pregnant with child. And she decided that she was going to dress up for this reception in a full nun's habit, pregnant with the red devil's tail hanging on her back end. And so she walks into this reception, and Dottie took a look at her and said, "What have you done?" She said, "What have I done? I think you're pregnant here. You know, I've been pregnant. No, what have you done?" She said, "Do you know that Sister Mary Jude Joachim is here and that she's a nun?" And so the poor girl was almost beside herself, and she said, "Well, I think actually Sister Mary Jude would have a good sense of humor, and she'd get a kick out of this." And that you see that picture? That's how I remember Sister Mary Jude Joachim. She always had a great smile, a warmth to her, and she never did run into the person with the costume, with the nuns having the red devil's tail, the pregnant nun with the devil's tail hanging out. I thought it was a great story that tells you that Dottie could have fun, but she also was treated seriously by the library community. She did wonderful things in this library to move it forward, often under very difficult situations. But when I was gone for several years from the community, when I came back and saw what the library looked like, I was astounded by how physically it looks better, programmatically it's stronger, on the net it's more vibrant, and it really is serving all of those entities from cradle to grave. So God bless you, Dottie. We appreciated you and we loved you.
Thank you for that. I had a special relationship with Ted Hess. We would always meet at CLE conferences, continuing legal education conferences that were 2 or 3 days long. And in the evenings, you were free to do things. And Ted and I would always find the bar, and we would choose our favorite scotch. And we would have conversations like you cannot believe. This man covered Martin Luther King. He covered George Wallace when he was a reporter. And he had some amazing stories about his days as a reporter. I just loved just talking to him. I mean, we certainly didn't have a whole lot in common otherwise. But my goodness, what a great man. I didn't know Dottie well enough. I knew her to say hello. But I knew what a great person she was. And I'm hearing that today as well. Peter Yarrow had a Peter Yarrow was supposed to be here, by the way. They couldn't pay him enough. No, seriously. Peter Yarrow had a roommate at Cornell named Lenny Lipton, and Lenny was really depressed one day. It was towards finals, and he sat down at his typewriter, because we had typewriters back then, and he wrote a poem that he wasn't really excited about much. But Peter saw it on his way out the door one day and said, it's still in the typewriter. And he said, that's a great poem. You mind if I write a lyric to it? He said, you can have it if you want. Well, Lenny Lipton made a lot of money off this song. You know it. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Baker loved that rascal pup and brought him strings and sealing wax, other fancy stuff. Hit it, Bob. Puff the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon, lived by the sea, frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Together they would travel on a boat below the sea. Jackie kept a lookout post on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow whenever they came, and pirate ships would lower their flag when Puff roared out his name. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea,
frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Now Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea. Frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Dragon lives forever, but not so girls and boys. Painted wings and giant swings make way for other toys. One great night it happened, Jackie Paper came born. Puff, that mighty dragon, ceased his fearless roar. His head was bent in sorrow, green scales fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane without his lifelong friend. Puff could not be free. So Puff, that mighty dragon, sat and slipped into his cave. Puff, the magic dragon, I can hear it. And frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Now Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea. And frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Bob. One thing about Mr. Hess, always had a nice thing to say, very supportive of the library and the library staff. He always felt better when you talked to him. Anywhere I ran into him, he would tell me he believed this was the best library in the state, and the reasons why was our staff and the things we did. And a few years back, we did a program called Library Memories that Mrs. Hess brought to the booklet. So I thought I'd read Mr. Hess's memory. He said, "They span my entire lifetime. As a youngster, I visited regularly at an old library on Market Street in Center Wheeling. I was introduced at that time to the worlds of Hemingway, Steinbeck, Fitzgerald, and the like. I suspect this was a major reason I ended up as an English major in college and eventually taught high school English for a period before entering law school. A large marble statue of Ethan Allen was a prominent fixture in the old library. When we moved the library to our present location on 16th Street, we had no idea what to do with old Ethan. We finally put him out to bid. I retired from the Library Board of Trustees on March 17, 2010, after 40 years to the day as a board member. Many innovations had occurred over the years. No one had even heard of computers when I joined the board in 1970. The special wheeling room on the first floor of the library had not even been dreamed of. My fondest memories are of the staff, the employees who made the library such a success. I always look forward to thanking the members of our staff for their service at our Christmas luncheons and other library events. After 40 years, it became like family to me. But I also came to realize that after 40 years, I was actually older than more than half the books in the library. It was time to move on and provide younger folks with an opportunity to serve, and I did so. So that was Mr. Hess. And he was a member of the Elks, befriended my father, and they used to go to lunch together, which was strange, but they were companions. And I saw Mr. Hess at my dad's house a few times. I miss him. Well, how about another song?
Do another harmonica. Bob Dylan wrote about 10,000 songs, and he's still writing. So, which ones do you pick, right?
can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knocking, knocking, 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 knocking on heaven's door. Mama put my guns in the ground. I can't shoot them anymore. Long black clouds coming down. Feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knocking, knocking, knocking on heaven's door. Knocking, knocking, knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking, knocking, knocking on heaven's door. Baby, stay right here with me. 'Cause I can't see you anymore. This ain't the way it's supposed to be. Feel nothing on heaven's door. Nothing, nothing, nothing on heaven's door. Nothing on heaven's door. Nothing, nothing, nothing on heaven's door. Nothing on heaven's door. Son, won't you remember me? Can't be with you anymore. Long man's life is never free. Feel a knocking on heaven's door. Knocking, knocking, knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking, knocking, knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door.
Thanks, Bob. All due respect to Peter Yarrow, I think we got a better deal. I think we have the right guy. Couple more things, and we'll let Bob play some more music. I wanted to read something because I asked people to on staff send memories, and the new director, Amy Castigar, said these things, which I found to be right on the money about Dottie. She liked mysteries featuring religious people, Jane Smiley, Barbara Kingsolver, Scott Hahn, and he was here too. One of the first programs I did was to bring Scott Hahn here for Dottie. And Family Sagas, the misread series was read in its entirety. According to Search of Staff Notes, Dottie reviewed If You Live Here, You'd Be Home Now by Christopher Ingram, which she has to do staff book reviews. She didn't like the licorice or clove spice drops. She used to bring those in for staff. I always gave her my spearmint spice drops. I told you that one. She was passionate about politics, liberal politics, and environment and animals. She fed raccoons and other wildlife and loved her cats. She also had an affinity for cows. For a while, she was very interested in mental health issues because burned out on that topic. Religion was a favorite topic. I can confirm that. Always wanted to talk theology or politics. She was involved with RCIA, and towards the end of her life, she was interested in Eastern Orthodoxy. I didn't know that, Eastern Orthodoxy. She loved Vermont. Oh, she loved Vermont. And Bernie Sanders might save the world. And she had a weird thing for Paul Ryan. She could do cartwheels. So that was Dottie. I remember my colleague Aaron is here today, Aaron Rothenbuehler, that many times when we were staying late, Dottie would want to come by and talk at that time when we were supposed to be signing out. And we would say, oh, here she comes, she's going to talk about it. But she found out stuff that she wanted to talk about that politics. And we were kind of like, wish you wouldn't do that, but now it doesn't happen anymore. I miss it. I miss her. Because she gave me a chance when I really didn't have any experience in libraries. And when she liked what she saw, she gave me more freedom to increase the number of programs and do different things. She trusted me, and I appreciated that, and she supported all the things we were trying to do. And I thank her for that. So, let's have another song, and then we have a treat for you before we close.
I would be remiss if we finished and I didn't introduce Lawrence. On top of the amplifier, ladies and gentlemen, is Lawrence Lazard. Lawrence and I traveled together all throughout the state of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Lawrence is a interesting creature. He sings harmonies. I would never give him a microphone or he would take the show over, but I wanted to introduce Lawrence to you before we continue. If I didn't, he'd never speak to me. You know this one. If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two, Lord, I'm three, Lord, I'm four, Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. 500 miles, 500 miles, 500 miles, 500 miles. Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. Not a shirt on my back, not a penny to my name. Lord, I can't go home this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Lord, I can't go home this way. I'll do it the first verse. If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Very good.
All right, I hope this works. What's the treat? Other than cookies. Hopefully we can hear this.
And she's available for parties and private jets.
there anyone else who'd like to say anything before we end? Well, thank you all for coming, and let's let Bob close the show with a song, and then we'll have more cookies. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we'll have the drawing right after the song. Want to do it now?
Sure, have the drawing.
Let's do the drawing so, everyone's not eager to have the song over with. Just kidding.
I haven't been in showbiz that long, but I got that.
No, it's been great. Well, thank you. All right, the winner of the sloth calendar is Frank Dumich. Frank Dumich.
Frank Dumich, correct.
What else do we have? Oh, the book. They're falling out, so I'm going to take the first one to fill out. That must be the one she wants to have this book. Judy Smiles? I don't know how to say your last name, I'm sorry, Judy. Yay! Okay. Next thing is the coveted Bernie Sanders bobblehead. It goes to Elisa Croce. And finally, the sloth, which I have here, you can get it today. Alice Jabbersack. All right.
Come gather around you wherever you roam. And admit that no others around you have grown and accepted too with their dress to bone. Your time is to you is worth saving. Then you better start sweating, or you'll sink like a stone. For the time they are changing. From the writers and critics who prophesy with hands. Keep your eyes wide and your things won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wind will still in spin. And there's no telling who that is named. For the future now, we're saying to win. For the time they are changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Do not stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For let it be a turn, will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. They'll soon shake your windows, rattle your walls. For the time they are changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land. And don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your plan. Your whole road is in the aging. Think out of the new one. Hold at the hand for the time they are changing. The line is drawn, the curse is cast. Someone now will later be fast. And the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading. And the first one to know will later be last. For the time they are changing.
Thanks, Bruce.